Welcome to the From My Stand podcast with Matt Hinkle. Whether you are an avid hunter, a novice, or someone interested in the sport, Matt has a unique perspective to share. Sit back, relax, and kick your boots up as Matt shares what he's seeing from his stand.
Hi, friends. Thanks for joining us today. I'm your host, Matt Hinkle, and I am sitting with my cousin, Casey Hinkle, and I've been really excited about this episode for quite a while. Casey is my main hunting partner. Him and his dad, we've been hunting together for well over 20 years, I would say.
Yeah.
And so I've been real excited to get him on here. One, he's my main hunting partner, but two, he belongs on a channel like this because I'm going to tell you something. There's no one I know that's better than him and his dad on mature whitetail bucks. And so when I was thinking about, what we would do this year, I just thought, man, I got to get him on here. So thank you for
no problem.
being willing to do this. I appreciate it.
Yep.
Okay, so tell us a little bit about how long have you been into hunting?
Well, I got pictures somewhere around here on the river duck hunting at age 2.
Okay.
Obviously, I wasn't hunting.
Right.
Dad and his buddy that's all they did in the wintertime. They would, I'd get up 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning with them, and they'd put me on the sled with the bag of decoys, take me through the fields, sometimes put a canoe on the river, and I'd just sit with the dog. And I got old enough to get a BB gun, would carry that, shoot shotgun shells. And I think I got my license when I was 10. So I've been actually hunting myself since age 10.
Did you do the safety course and everything that
Yep.
they have you do?
Yep. So we
remember
did
what your grade was?
Yeah, it's 97.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I remember mine. I got
Yeah.
an 85.
Did you?
I was
Good
an
enough.
underachiever.
I think 70's past it or something.
Yeah.
So it's, it doesn't matter at this point. I mean, you can take it now, and I think everybody.
I think you can take it online now.
So you can.
Yeah.
I know a lot of kids have. I think when I did it, we did the 2-day courses on the weekend, and both days were 8 hours. Yeah, it was a long day for being 10 years old. I might have been 9, going on 10. Those were long days.
Do you remember the first thing you killed?
I know squirrel, but I'm trying to think if there was because I know I got into some rabbits there for a couple years. But I think it would have been. I'm going to say squirrels, but I do know I was duck hunting then too, and I killed a couple mallards.
Okay.
But I would say squirrel.
All right. So, well, I think I may know the answer to this based on what you just said, but who got you into hunting?
Oh, my dad.
Yeah.
Yeah. You just grow up in this house. It's just,
yeah.
That's all it is.
By the way, we're sitting in Casey's trophy room, and you can probably see some of the stuff around me. This is like 1% of what else is in the house, So, if you grow up in this house, you're gonna catch it. Probably.
Yeah, that's all you're doing.
Yeah. So, all right. So, and by the way, I would say my dad and my grandpa got me into it, but Casey's dad was a big part of that too. When I was a teenager, it got to the point my dad passed actually when I was a teenager, and I couldn't hunt with him much. And so John kept me in the woods, and so, kept me going with that. So I thought it was probably your dad that got you into it, but there's a lot of people out here that don't.
Yeah, there's a ton of
know you guys.
Right.
So,
yep.
Okay. Well, tell the audience about a little bit about some of the hunts you've been on. I mean, you don't have to go into everything, but just kind of give a little quick bio. I mean, Casey's hunted all over the world. Tell us a little bit about what you've done.
So, I always hunted here, in the Midwest, but when I was actually in high school, it was the summer between sophomore and junior year. So I was just getting ready to turn 17. I actually hunted South Africa. I know my dad's got a buddy he met, and this guy, the last time I was out at his place, he's from Montana. he had over 200 mounts, 250 mounts, I think.
Oh wow.
Full body lion. And, one thing is, I mean, everybody sees that and they think rich guy, but I mean, we're all blue collar. And this was back when this guy was hunting, was when you could afford hunting. It's
Yeah.
not what it is today.
Yeah.
But,
We'll talk
there's,
about that in just a minute.
yeah, there's a lot of cancellation hunts back then you can get for, I mean, a fraction of the actual price. So my dad met him. This guy's, he's a world traveler, hunts everywhere. And he called my dad. He was like, "Hey, I'm gonna go back to South Africa and hunt." And dad, he always wanted to go hunt buffalo, but he had not hunted on that trip. And I was 16. I had my license. So I had a job, and I had a little bit of money saved up. So he asked me if I wanted to go, but I had to pay for my own hunt. And I said, yeah. So kept working. So ended up flying over to South Africa that summer. Was over there for 2 weeks. Took a 30-06 with me, and that's all you needed over there. That was some good hunting, but I never went back there just because of the flight.
Oh yeah.
From Atlanta to Johannesburg was about 18 hours on a plane. So I was like, I'm done with that. I'd go back now for like leopard or something, but Dad went back in 2008. I was an apprentice then working, so I had no money and didn't want to take the time off of work. So, but I ended up doing some elk hunting. New Mexico a little bit.
Yeah. You got a nice elk out there.
No, that was Utah.
Oh, it was you. Oh, I thought that was New Mexico. Where you
no,
no,
that one came from Utah.
I was mistaken about that.
Yep. So Utah, Dad hunts Utah quite a bit. We've got some of our really good friends are out there.
Yeah.
So in today's era, it's pretty much all about who you know at this point. You make friends. They got the contacts. They just kind of everything falls into place that way.
Yeah.
And then you get that, you get to hunt with them. And actually the same guys, out there, a couple of them are from Idaho. And I went out there to spring bear hunting with them when my overtime season would slow down. It just happened to be their bear hunting season. So I'd go out there for a week or two and we, just all public land. And we killed some nice bears.
Yeah. Well, Casey's usually not one to talk about what he's done, but I wanted to ask about it because, it'll it'll tell everybody that's watching why I've got you on here. Kind of established the bio. I mean, he's got the credentials, he's got the resume, to talk about hunting. He's kind of done a little bit of everything. So, okay, well, you've been hunting. I don't even know how old you are. I know you're a little younger.
I'll be 36.
Okay, so you've been hunting pretty seriously for 25 years.
Plus. Yeah. This will be. I guess I got my
20 plus years for sure.
Yeah. So as far as, I mean, whitetail's my main. That's what you grow up with here. Yeah. So that's kind of that's your bread and butter around here. That's kind of been my main focus now. So I guess this is going to be my 27th season we're getting ready to go into. Somewhere, I don't know.
So how has the sport changed in your mind since you got into it?
So here in
has it changed?
It's changed. Here in the Midwest, it seems like it's more commercial. And when I say that, it's, early 2000s, the Outdoor Channel was big. So you get, a lot of guys were watching that. They were, all the good shows. I mean, there's a lot of good shows on there.
I like some of the stuff on there.
Yeah,
I don't like everything that's on there.
I don't either. I don't even have it anymore. But it's when the season starts getting in, I like to turn some of that stuff on. But I think when the industry got big, from the TV stuff, and they started pushing brands, they started pushing like all kinds of gimmicks to sell people. I think that's when I noticed a lot of stuff changing. And I remember when I was a kid in school, elementary and junior high, I was one of the only ones here that hunted. And this isn't like, I mean, the town I grew up in and still live in, it used to be an old farm town. But people my age they weren't really into it. And then when I got into high school, we got a Bass Pro in town. Well, not in town, but 25 minutes away.
Yeah, yeah.
And that kind of changed
I
things
remember
around
when that
here.
happened. Yeah.
And then you started seeing people, slowly getting into it. Um, then all of a sudden, it seemed like later in high school, like everybody was trying to hunt and
Yeah.
fish and all that. And then you start seeing during the hunting season, you start seeing license plates from all over. And then, it used to be in certain areas of the state, you had some pretty rough looking characters running those back roads,
Hmm.
doing some questionable things. And then, over time, those guys got faded out, and you've got a lot of hot shots with money coming in, taking up a lot of the ground. And it used to be a lot of people's theory was if it's brown, it's down. Now it's everybody's looking for a trophy buck.
Hmm.
There's just a lot of things have changed.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think a lot. I think the pandemic changed things a little bit too. I
Yeah,
think I've noticed people wanting more outdoor stuff, a
yeah,
little more self
yep,
sufficiency, and it's kind of seems like it's in style right now. We've been doing it all along,
yeah, yeah.
but
We've
it's
been,
really in style right
yeah.
now.
It's just a cool thing or something
Yeah.
now.
Now, are there any trends are there any new trends that you like? Is there
Um,
anything going on now that wasn't going on in the beginning that you like?
um, I would say technology's changed. As far as trends, I mean, I did get a drone. I don't know, a year and a half ago or something. Well, people are using those like crazy, but people are also using those to like find their deer and stuff. But
Hmm.
I use them actually as a scouting tool.
Yeah.
Um, but as far as the technology, like the new stuff, technology, I try to keep up on some of it, just
Yeah.
just because it's
Cameras.
cameras. I'm big on cameras
Yeah.
um, because they're such a good tool to have.
Yeah.
Um, actually, an app, the Onyx app.
Yeah.
I'm big on that.
Yeah.
I had the app from the Drury brothers. It was
Okay.
good. It's satellite based, so it gives you property lines.
Okay.
That way, you're not. "Well, I think this is our property. When you're trying
Yeah.
to hang a stand,
Yeah.
and then you're 20 foot
I
on
know what
somebody
that's
else's.
like.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
it kind of takes the questions out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you feel a little more comfortable with it. But you can look at the shape of the land on that. Um, you can drop pings like because right now, all the leaves are on, so your canopies, you can't see the sky.
Yeah.
Everything's thick, and there's like a jungle
Yeah.
in certain areas. And you can drop a ping right there if you want to go back and check it later. That
Yeah.
spot, whatever. So I like that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Are there any trends you don't like? Now,
Social media.
don't say podcast.
No, I would
That
say,
would hurt my
yeah,
feelings.
I'm gonna say social media, and when I say that, it's um, I don't have Facebook anymore. I got rid of that years ago, but yeah, it was just kind of fed up. You see people on there, and it's almost like people have to kill something every year,
Yeah.
and what they and it's kids, whatever, shoot what you want, hunt however you want, who cares? But when you're seeing the same people every year talk about how they're going to shoot 170, 180, 190 inch buck, and then end of the season comes and they're holding an 85-inch
Hmm.
basket rack.
Yeah.
Um, they feel like they have to kill something, and I understand doing it, because you're
Yeah.
gonna eat it,
For the
but
social media recognition
exactly,
of
and
it.
that's
Yeah.
and that's the thing. Like they're not shooting it just because, well, I gotta get some meat in the freezer. Like if you're needing meat in the freezer, you're not gonna wait to the end of the season to shoot one. You're gonna bust a
Right.
doe right off
Yeah.
the rip. But I don't know. I mean, teach their own, but I'm not a big fan of everybody saying I'm going to shoot this big one, and then they
Yeah.
as the season, it's a long season, and you got to grind it out.
Yeah.
I mean, mentally you got to be tough, but you get to the end of that season, and then a year and a half, 2-year-old deer walks by, and you're shooting it, and just because you got to get that picture on
Yeah.
social media, and
Yeah.
that's what
I
I don't
agree.
care
I
for.
agree with that. I did an episode, a solo episode a couple of weeks ago on how to avoid burnout. And I talked about the keeping it fun.
Yeah.
And I kind of warned against social media. I said, every time you
Yeah.
go hunting, you don't have to make a big announcement. Hey, I'm going,
Right.
because then it puts pressure on you. Like,
Yeah, exactly. You got people
everybody's going to
texting. Yeah,
ask,
right. Yeah.
hey, how'd it
Yeah.
go? Did you get anything?
Yeah.
And if you didn't, there's going to be a little bit of an emotional drop on your part, and it takes the fun out of
Yeah,
it.
because you think you have to go kill
Yeah,
something.
you
You think
have
you're
to
gonna
do it for your audience.
right, and you don't want to tell people
what
I didn't
it's
get
about.
one. Yeah.
That's not what it's about. I totally agree with you on that. And
Yeah.
that is a frustration I've got. I'm not anti-social media, but it's not what it's for. And we've lost sight of that a little bit.
I think
I
so.
think.
I mean, I'm all about put pictures up. Put pictures whatever you want.
Yeah.
And if you get something, put it up. Because I mean, that's how a lot of I
Yeah.
got some friends that aren't local at all. A lot of them live out west, and when hunting season rolls in, a couple of them are guides, and
Yeah.
so they're then where they guide up, they have zero signal, um, and we don't really talk a whole lot through the season, but they got the Instagram and whatever, and they'll put if they kill something, they'll put it up.
Yeah.
They won't put up their the client stuff.
Yeah.
But if I shoot a deer, I'll put it up there.
That's
Whatever.
right. If I shoot one, I put it on there.
Yeah.
But I don't feel bad if I don't have anything to put on there.
Same. I don't care.
Just,
yeah. I mean, I just me personally, I don't care what anybody thinks.
Right.
I don't. If
you're not in it for something to prove.
No, I'm in it for the actual hunt itself, and I think there's a lot of people that are too. But I think there's that one group of people that they think they have to be they have to kill something every time.
Yeah.
I think they also think that they're only successful if they do kill something,
Yeah.
and that's really not true.
Fred Bear said that you never come home empty-handed, even if you don't get something.
Yeah, he's right.
Because every hunt teaches you something.
That's probably my biggest thing right now, for every season is if you don't kill anything, usually my goal every year is to find a buck early season and then try to pursue it for the year. I got a couple places I hunt, but the main area, it's a hit or miss if you got a good buck in there early season. Sometimes you do, a lot of times you don't, and you're kind of waiting to play that game to one because they show up. They will be deer change. They have fall patterns and all that, but I just try to pursue that. But I go into the season like we'll see what happens if we don't get anything. It is what it is. But the biggest takeaway from maybe not me personally, my biggest thing was probably not every single time I go out and hunt, but probably for every season is to learn something about the property I'm hunting because you just put that knowledge towards next year's hunt.
Yeah.
And then you just get better and better.
Yeah. Well, I've made it absolutely clear from the very beginning of this podcast. I didn't start this because I think I'm an expert hunter. In fact, I know I'm not, and I'm not.
Yeah.
Casey's seen me on some of my best days, but he's also seen the worst days.
We've all had those days.
I'm not an expert, not really out trying to prove anything, just trying to use a medium to maybe help some people share a little bit of knowledge that I've got, but also get guys like you on here, guys like Mike. We had him on for the turkeys a while back, and just give a voice to people that I think are out doing it right, and put it on this medium. And I think I like everything you just said about social media. I think that's really good. So we're in season 2 right now of this podcast, and we're calling it A Year in the Life of a Hunter because last year I started the podcast mid-season, and Casey had actually shot his buck right before I started this. So we really couldn't do anything with it. But, this upcoming season, as long as he's okay with it, I'm going to have the podcast going on, the channel going, and, we'll let you know how we do. But we were already up and roll, or we didn't get up and rolling until the season started. So this is like the first full year I've even had this going on. And so I'm calling it A Year in the Life of a Hunter, trying to just at every point in the year, like, here's what you should be doing. Cause there's always something.
There's always something. It's 365.
So right now it's May. What's a guy like you thinking about and doing right now? Like,
yeah,
and probably not. It's not as intense right now.
Right now, it's not intense.
But what can a guy be doing right now?
So I mean, it all depends on the property you're hunting. If it's private or public, or how much ground you have. Like the one place I do hunt, we put a little food plot in every year. I mean, it's not a huge one. It's about an acre.
Yeah.
Um, Problem with that is right now is there's so many rocks in there. Nothing's growing on the one side.
Hmm.
So my focus right now, get the rocks out, work the ground up. I didn't plant anything for the spring because I knew for the summer I'm going to just be down there with the tractor
Hmm.
tearing ground up. And I mean the ground's terrible right now. I think one area the pH is decent, but I got to get the soil back um, to being able to start growing decent stuff instead of just weeds. So you really you kind of got to look right now, and being that it's close to the end of May, you've got just a few months left before you're going to be ready to hit the woods.
Yeah.
So I think
It does come up
it
fast.
does. It creeps
Yeah.
up on you, especially because everybody, people is that have kids, all that going on. Sports are coming up. It's their summer break. They got vacations,
Yeah.
so it kind of takes away. So next thing you just look over and it's like, oh man, the season's here.
Everybody's different. Some guys go out
Everybody's
once
different.
a year.
Yeah, right,
But
right.
on this channel, we're really not talking to the guy that blows the dust off his bow,
Yeah,
once or twice a
usually
year.
that's the guy that
That's
goes
not
out.
us.
That's the guy who goes out and kills the 200
That's
incher
true.
though
That
too.
is true.
That's usually what happens.
Yeah.
But no, if you're wanting to look at something to put the work in preparation for the season, you know, scouting's the biggest one. I like to do my scouting right after bow season
Yeah.
finishes, so I like to spend February and March. Um, that's when the leaves are still down. You can
Yeah.
actually see
It's
stuff
hard to
better.
scout right now.
You
in
can't.
May.
It's hard. It's
Yeah.
you gotta have an eye for certain things right now. And the deer, they're not doing what they normally do. So in the
It's
season,
true
right?
too. Yeah.
So things are different spring versus fall. So I try to do my scouting after bow season, and then now we got some nice weather. Turkey season just closed out. Um, Probably not going to do a whole lot of predator hunting yet, but now it's just to focus on what do we need to do for getting ready for bow season to start. End of September,
Yeah.
and that's establishing the food plot, getting that better. I wish it was how we used to have it, where I just go with tractor, till it, spray it, plant it, and then call it good for the year, and you move on to other things. But for 2025, the main focus is that, and we've had so much rain this year; it's kind of been delaying me,
Yeah.
which is fine because
Oh,
we'll dry
it's
out.
pouring down rain right now.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean we got an inch of rain today,
Yeah.
so haven't had the tractor down there yet, but we got some trails down there. Um, I'll take every year a lot of dead trees and stuff they come across the trails, and so I'll go down there, take the chainsaw down, cut all that up,
Yeah.
and just kind of prep that. We also set a camp up too, so for during the season, so it's
Hmm.
you're prepping for that stuff too.
Yeah.
But then you go into your blinds and your stands later to set up.
Well, what I would say to our audience is, you're hearing from really successful deer hunter, and he's talking about chainsaws and rocks and things like that. So, what I'm taking from that is there's a lot of work that goes into
It's
this.
ton. It's
You
yeah.
don't just waltz out and
No, it
consistently get mature bucks.
you have to know. I mean you.
Now, somebody could waltz out. Every year some
Oh
13-year
yeah,
old girl with a purple gun
yeah.
shoots a state record somewhere.
Oh yeah.
But and I'm not against 13-year-old girls with purple
No,
guns hunting.
that's good for them.
Don't
Yeah,
comment about that. We're not being mean, but
yeah.
I'm just saying to consistently do this. It's a lot. A lot goes into
It is. I mean, you hear guys say, deer seasons, 52 weeks a year.
Yeah,
It's 7 days a week, 365 days a year, and then that's true, in my opinion. A
yeah.
lot of guys are going to say, "Nah, I can go out and kill deer," and you absolutely can go out and kill deer, any day of the season, and not
Well,
have an issue.
well, let me stop you right here. I'm going to just tell our audience because they're getting to know you, but I'm sure that if you gave Casey 48 hours and gave him a bow or a gun or whatever, he'd have a deer on the ground. If that was the objective,
Probably.
you could have a deer on.
Yeah, I shoot a deer. Yeah, it's a
he-
deer. Yeah,
you can be modest if you want, but he can
Yeah.
shoot a deer in 48 hours.
Yeah.
I would imagine, and a lot of deer hunters are like that. But
yeah.
now you kind of intentionally are a mature buck hunter.
Yeah.
Talk
Yeah.
just a minute, and we're going to wrap this episode up here in just a few minutes. But what's the difference between a deer hunter and a guy that's hunting a mature buck in your mind? What?
So what I tell
And by the
guys,
way, I will say this: you probably picked up on this from Casey already. It's not about the pictures with the antlers.
yeah,
For you, I don't think.
no,
But because your buck last year wasn't a
he wasn't
one of
giant.
your high scoring bucks,
No,
but he was mature. He was
needed,
a grizzled old warrior.
Yeah, he needed to go. Yeah.
So Casey is a mature buck hunter. Talk about that for just a minute. That's how we'll end this episode.
So what I tell guys, I got a lot of buddies. They do a lot of whitetail hunting too, and some of them, like I had one of my real good buddies last year. He's hunting a property that he actually owns. He's never really hunted it before because he had other places. We went in there kind of just as an extra spot for him to go to.
Mm-hmm.
Found a really nice buck, and so we were talking about it. And he's like, "Man, what's the best way to get this deer? What do you think?" And I said, when me and my dad talk, when you're hunting the old bucks, like, not the 3-4 year olds. I mean, you're hunting the fully mature bucks, the deer that have been there, done that, seen it all.
Mm-hmm.
It's like hunting a ghost. And that's, that deer, they can be laying 50 yards from you and you'll never know it.
Yeah.
So you have to take an entire different approach. Those deer move different from your standard deer. I mean, guys can go out and they can dump 200 pounds of corn on the ground and they'll see basket rack spikes, some 2-year-old deer come in, and then, tons of does, and they'll be covered up with deer. But chances of getting, that 6, 7, 8-year-old deer to come in daylight,
yeah,
it's not going to happen. I mean, it will. It does happen, but there's so much more that goes into it than that. So hunting, I classify an old mature whitetail as a complete separate animal than regular deer.
It's a different sport.
It's different. It's
like a different sport.
It's just, you got to have a whole separate approach to it.
Well, my son, he got his first buck last year, as you know.
Yep.
And I think he got a mature buck. I don't exactly know what age it was.
He was
pretty
five.
nice.
Yeah, he was.
So he's ruined. I told him, I was like,
is.
that's not how we all start out. So I don't know what's going to happen, but with him. But I was happy he got a mature buck. But I'm like, man, you may have got started a little too high.
Yeah, that's
because it's hard to do every year.
Yeah.
If you're going to hunt mature bucks, you're probably going to have seasons where you may not get anything.
That's a fact. If you're going to focus only on that, I mean, you just got to be mentally prepared.
So, well, all right. Well, Casey, thanks for sitting down with me
no
today.
problem. Yeah, absolutely.
Casey and I, regardless of the podcast, without the podcast, we hunt together. So, we're constantly either together or talking about this. But I'm happy he agreed to come on here, and the fact that we hunt together, you're going to see him more. In fact, we've got a few other episodes planned. So, but thanks for coming on.
Yeah, anytime.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us today. I hope this has been a help to you in some way. I'm your host, Matt Hinkle. I've been sitting down with Casey Hinkle, and that's how we see it from our stand.
Thank you for listening today. Be sure to tell your buddies and follow us on your favorite podcasting platforms. Y'all take care.